Hello, hello, Eneni and Charles. How are you doing today and where are you dialing from? Eneni.
Hi, hello, Catherine. I'm dialing from London, actually. Oh, yes. But of course, I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria. Yeah.
Thank you. And Charles?
Hello, I'm tuned in from Nairobi, Kenya. That's where I'm from. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'd like to welcome you today as you're opening our first series, our first very event of our special Africa series, and I can be even more excited about this. Our session is called The Hot Seat, and the purpose of this session is to help businesses and companies all over the world, in our case, Africa, address their blind spots and gain competitive edge with the help of our wonderful mentors. So, before we dive deep into the topic, I'd like you to introduce yourselves and tell us about your expertise. And then you can go first.
Okay, thank you very much. So, my name is Eneni Oduole. I'm CEO Alter Ed Limited, a consultancy based in Lagos. We have clients, large corporates and SMEs, and we advise them on ERM, enterprise risk management and sustainability management, policy development and implementation, and we do trainings along these lines as well. So,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Charles.
You? Yes. So I'm Charles Rugendo. I am the CEO and co-founder at Hyapark. Hyapark is a startup that seeks to make biodegradable alternatives to replace that are an option to plastic. And by education, I'm a water and environmental engineer. And by experience, I am deeply passionate about operational excellence. Yeah, and I'm also part of projects and startups that redefine possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It's really inspiring to hear about your experience. And my first question goes to Aneni, because first things first, you proposed such an interesting topic. I've never discussed anything like this. So, can you explain what is the importance of actually integrating sustainability and risk management? How do these two areas intersect and maybe even complement each other?
Okay. So, firstly, I'll start by explaining what enterprise risk management is all about and then sustainability management. So, enterprise risk management provides you it's a management practice that requires proactive identification, assessment, measurement, control, and management of all types of risks that an organization is exposed to. And the benefit of it all is for value creation in the short, medium, and long term. And now that's where it dovetails into sustainability management. Sustainability management is all about adding value, not degrading whether people, your environment, or your customers in the process of doing business, but doing your business in a way that's sustainable and creates value for everyone as well as the environment. So that's where they come together. So now I would say the importance of integrating those practices in an organization will be one, to aid holistic decision making. Because we find that in organizations, at least from my experience in the companies I've had to advise or work with, they normally operate in silos and you find a lot of overlaps and therefore gaps as well. But it is important for holistic decision making for them to be considered in a very collaborative, consolidated, and holistic manner. And that helps with long term value creation because you're able to proactively identify what could be a challenge or issue for the business, for the organization, and then address it not just for the long term, for the short term, but always for the long term. And that way, you now create sustainable value. Now, it also helps with regulatory compliance as well, because we do know that both practices, whether risk management or sustainability, are now strong requirements, whether by our stock exchanges, whether by our regulatory financial bodies or respective regulatory agencies, right? And and so being intentional about looking at both, not either or, would also help with stronger regulatory compliance, which now dovetails into higher confidence levels when it comes to investor confidence, employee confidence, customer confidence, supply chain confidence in the way you do your business. And in doing this, you find that you're able to mitigate likely risks in a very holistic manner across the business. So, whilst you are addressing a technology issue, you're not only considering how to fix it for now, but you're looking at how to fix it, how to manage it in such a way that it does not create future problems and it adds more value to the business. Now, with such considerations, you drive innovation because you have to think differently. You have to come up with solutions that haven't been thought of before because you're looking long term. And more than ever before, we need such thinking in our African businesses because we have the benefit of leapfrogging at the moment. We can just pick on the best practices and then, start operating at the level that organizations, I mean, in Western countries have achieved after many years of developmental phases. We have the benefit of taking advantage at this point and moving up. And then finally, it also helps with integrated mindsets in strategy setting and implementation. So when you're setting your strategy, you already know, because especially with sustainability management, it's important for you to know what to prioritize based on your jurisdiction, based on your industry, based on your environment, what to prioritize as your go-to in implementing your sustainability and your risk management strategy. Thank you.
This is a great insight. Thank you so much. And Annie, let's help me answer one question. I
Okay.
know that Africa might be different in what, sustainability challenges it faces. So what are some most important challenges that Africa faces right now, and how this kind of effective risk management strategies help address these challenges?
So one that is very obvious, I would start with the climate change issue. We're all suffering from it in one way or the other. In some parts of Africa, you have the floods, like it is in Nigeria. We do have incidents of floods. And then in some other parts, you have droughts. So we are affected. We have mudslides, we have those incidents, and we are affected by the impact of climate change and therefore our environmental degradation. Now, that in the long run impacts our own existence as a people, right? So that's one huge challenge, and that's an area that I think should really drive the concern or the intentionality towards sustainability management. Because much as there's the argument that we have not contributed to the erosion of the ozone layer as much as the developed economies, truth is it's impacting us. So we have to be intentional about managing it. Now we also have the risk or challenge of resource scarcity and water management. That has been an issue in Africa, access to clean water for drinking, for livelihood. And so it behoves on us to look for creative ways. The circular economy comes to bear here, where we can recycle water, where we have responsible disposal of water, retreatment of water to make, to recycle it, to make sure that water used is recycled and made available so there's no waste in that respect. There's also our supply chain vulnerabilities, if you look at it, because from geopolitical tensions, I mean, we know there are wars in two parts of the world right now. There's the war in Ukraine and between Russia and Ukraine, and the Israel and Hamas. Now, those things create supply chain vulnerabilities, which impact us in the long run. So that is why we have to ensure that we do even natural disasters in other parts of the world affect our supply chain. And that's why we have to be intentional about these assessments and about having our contingency plans and our mitigation strategies. There's also the big issue of labor, social inequality and labor issues in Africa. I mean, that's one area where we have high exposure levels. Now we have to be intentional about how we value our people, our social system, get rid of unfair labor laws and practices, promote diversity and inclusion. It's different. In most parts of Africa, disability is not considered when you're thinking about employment, but we need to be more inclusive because everyone, is a human being. We have to look at evolving and volatile regulations concerning whether our financial management systems or even sustainability, because each day, I mean, on an ongoing basis, respective regulatory authorities or standards organizations keep meeting and reviewing these things. So these are challenges that we need to pay attention to. They're the reporting requirements. We have different standards and boards. Which do we adopt? So it's important for Africa to come up with a fit for purpose standard. And the only way that can be is if we first recognize there's the need to pay attention to sustainability management from a risk management perspective and develop the right metrics for reporting. And finally, so that I will allow Charles have his go, there's also the need for strong community and stakeholder management, because everyone needs to know that they are important in the process. Whether you're an employee, whether you're a customer, whether you're a member of the community, whether you're a board member, we're all responsible for the success of this. And we have to be intentional. And then effective communication is what will send out that responsibility. We have to communicate as organizations to our stakeholders in a meaningful way and an easy way to understand the role they play in ensuring that we leave our community in a better place. We drive our business processes and practice in a way that will only lead to sustainable practices. Thank you very much.
Absolutely agree with every single word. Charles, do you hear us now? Let us
Yes,
know.
I can hear you.
Perfect. Do
Yes,
you
I
have
can hear you.
anything to add about what are the most pressing sustainability issues that Africa is facing right now, and how can risk management help address these challenges? Do you have anything to add? Thank you.
Well, more so, I would agree with what Eneni says. It's on mostly supply chain vulnerabilities due to the global tensions and unforeseen pandemics. And also, we have the issue of resource depletion. And mostly, to also, we have the issue of compliance and regulatory. Because you understand, in the African ecosystem in businesses, with the change in government and authorities, there is change in the regulations. So it also affects the business, and they need to have a way in which they see that they are easily able to adapt to the new regulatory changes that come up along. That's just it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's go back to your question. As I've mentioned, you're a co-founder of a pretty exciting startup. And do you have any advice for smaller and new companies who are just, who are trying to prioritize sustainability, and how can they manage risk associated with this? Because you have a hands-on experience as a co-founder.
Thank you for your question. I will end and say for any small business, any startup, or any other organization, they can borrow in from the big corporations that have thrived in this sector well more. And adding to a few points, one would be they need to set clear goals, and these goals have to reflect their mission and vision on what they ought to achieve. And these vision and objective that is set towards achieving, they should not be like add-ons. They should be the center of everything. So they should be considered from the beginning of setting these goals. Secondly, we have the integrated approach, and the integrated approach involves from all stakeholders, the engagement of all stakeholders that they have to like commit. For the senior management, they have to commit to supporting the initiatives. The middle management or the employees, they have to contribute, and all the investors and the customers, they also have to support this. So it's a all integrated approach to see that everyone is involved when they are setting these sustainability goals. Then the other thing is, the other part of the integrated approach should be that these sustainability goals should be woven into every aspect of the business. They have a clear business model, so they should like wove every sustainability agenda they ought to achieve. They should be woven into every aspect. And this one is more to understand that it's a contribution for every person to contribute to. So this is what I would tell them. Another thing, they also need to monitor and track, to be able to know what's their progress. And once they monitor and they track, and they're able now to see the results, they need to adapt to the changing markets. They need to adapt to the evolving business landscape, and also they need to transparently share with the stakeholders what what are they been able to achieve and what are their results. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles. I feel like you just perfectly well described the last question that I actually had for you. So let me modify it a little bit and ask both of you, because I know that a lot of companies, they're faced with so many new challenges that just keep arising. You know, we have new technology that is evolving, we have sustainability issues that are just pressing on us. And I know that a lot of companies, when they do try to solve these problems and adapt new things, Charles is texting me. Yeah, Charles, we can hear you. No worries. So when they try to implement all of these new things, they do this rather sporadically. It means that they do not have a system on how to actually integrate it into their business strategy and make the success. So again, what are some tips that you can advise organizations to actually, to implement sustainability and risk management successfully, not sporadically, but turn it into a strategy, turn it into a system so that at the end it will actually show results. Aneni?
Okay. So for me, it starts from the strategy setting. You have to think in a holistic manner. You have to bring both concepts, because before you indeed, for optimal strategy setting, it's important for you to do your risk assessment in the process, right? And in that process, do not limit your risk assessment to business or operational issues. Also look at sustainability issues, so that when you are setting KPIs, you are setting KRIs, you are also looking at sustainability issues, and therefore building strategies or strategic plans to address sustainability issues from a risk management perspective. Because we must be conscious of the fact that risk management is the proactive manner. The proactive is a proactive approach to identifying issues or challenges, which end up either being threats to you or opportunities. Therefore, it creates also the opportunity for you to advance and improve on your strategy and your business operations. It's also important to look at consolidation from a point of risk mitigation and building resilience for the organization. Because when you have a holistic view, when you're building resilience, it's not just to fix your immediate challenges or your immediate exposures, but it's also to ensure longevity in or internal your business model internalizing for sustainability, resilience across board, right? It's also important to integrate risk and sustainability because it drives innovation. Because definitely you have it drives you to reconsider your energy sourcing, energy usage. We've heard a lot about solar energy, use of solar energy to drive power. So looking at it holistically, not just from a risk perspective, but sustainability, you're able to drive innovation when it comes to use of technology, when it comes to supply chain management, when it comes to outsourcing, when it comes to your key business and operational model, practices. And then also it helps you benefit from cost reduction in the long run, in terms of you have higher efficiencies, therefore less operational costs, right? Because you would have treated things over in a very holistic manner. You would have put in contingency plans, built-in resilience that helps you in the long run. It helps you with regulatory compliance and therefore improved reputation for the organization, and also helps to drive you as a frontier, as an organization, as a pacemaker, as a pace setter for how businesses can function sustainably. And we're in dire need of that, especially in the African environment, because we find that research has shown that about 67% of companies that start in Africa do not survive after 3 to 5 years.
This is a reality. I absolutely
Yeah.
agree with this. And Charles, well,
I don't
I
think he
don't
can
think so.
hear.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, it's a pity, but despite all of the technical issues that we faced, I'm really, really glad that we had this session because we were able to deliver a great deal of tips to organizations who are currently facing these problems. So, despite all of this, I'd like to thank you, Aneni and Charles, for taking your time today and tuning in for this session because it still was a success. Thank you so much. And I hope if our audience enjoyed this conversation, I highly encourage you to check the caption and see how you can work with Aneni and Charles to solve your corporate strategy problems. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I hope you're going to have an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Now we hear you, Charles.
Oh, finally, Charles.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thanks everyone for attending.